Board Chair, we are recording. You may begin when you're ready.
I'd like to call to order the Education Advisory Board meeting of Tuesday, April 16th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Shall we have a roll call?
Board Member Miller.
Here.
Board Member Lexima.
Here.
Board Member for Lizzie.
Here.
Vice Chair Barron.
Here.
Chair Kaplan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, now if we'd all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair Kaplan, if I may also note that Vice Mayor, your board liaison, is online.
I'd like to move that we approve the minutes of the Educational Advisory Board of April 16th, 2024. Do I have a second?
You have a second?
Wait, I'm sorry, I need a initial motion.
Motion?
Yes.
I'm making a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, as the chair, you cannot make the motion.
Oh.
I move to approve the minutes from our previous meeting, what was the date? April 16th, 2024.
I have a question about it.
Yeah, I do too. Do we have to approve it before we can ask?
No, if there's any changes to it, to the minutes, you can make a note of that now.
Okay. This is calling for Lizzie. I attended the last meeting, and at that meeting, maybe incorrectly, I was made liaison of the Loxahatchee Groves Elementary School, which I have met with the principal and have some feedback. So I don't know if that is part of the agenda because it's not part of Westlake proper, but many of our students do attend that school, and it does provide the preschool for 175 children throughout the county.
Yeah, there are some other irregularities there also that I'd like to comment.
I'm sorry, Board Kaplan, before you move forward, Board Member for Lizzie.
Yes,
Can you please clarify what you're changing in the minutes?
that I was not appointed as liaison for the Loxahatchee Groves Elementary School, which maybe was incorrect at the time, but I was appointed as the Loxahatchee Groves Elementary School liaison.
What page of the minutes is that on?
That is on
Page 5. 6.
page 6,
And it notes that you are board liaison as,
Loxahatchee
But
Groves.
that's not one of our schools in our area.
Mm-mm.
okay, so it was stated for the minutes,
Yes,
so that needs to stay as part of the minutes, but we can make a clarification in your board member comments at this time, and we'll reflect it on the new minutes, because that was something that was stated.
thank you.
Mhm.
I have another comment there also. Instead of Western Pines Middle School, and this may have been my error, it's supposed to be the Osceola Creek Middle School. And Keith Miller was assigned to that school, but fortunately he hasn't gone there, so he will. Now that we've clarified that, I think there's a lot of issues here that we're gonna have to discuss.
If they were stated for the minutes, it should stay a part of the minutes, but it's something that that should be corrected as part of your duties. We'll correct it in this meeting, and it'll be reflected in the upcoming
Okay.
minutes.
Thank you. Okay, sure.
Are there any active changes that need to be made for the minutes that you'd like to, that were incorrectly presented?
I think those were them, unless somebody else has something.
No, I don't see anything that needs to be corrected.
So I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second,
I'm sorry, a second by
Well, I was going to second that motion.
Lexima.
second.
Board Member Lexima. Thank you. We have a motion by Vice Chair Barron, seconded by Board Member Lexima. Roll call. Board Member Miller.
Here.
Board Member Lexima.
Here.
Please confirm I need the affirmative. We're not doing roll call.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I approve the minutes.
Yes.
Board Member for Lizzie.
Yes,
Vice Chair Barron,
Yes.
Chair Kaplan.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-5-0. Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to move that we have two presentations here tonight. I had very nice conversations over the phone about, I don't know, a month and a half ago from Miss Linda Edgecombe, who's the principal of the Golden Grove Elementary School, and also with Mr. Brian McClellan, principal of the Osceola Creek Middle School. And they very graciously agreed to come to our meeting, provide us with an overview of their school, and answer any questions that we may have. So I believe, Ms. Edgecombe, you're the first person. You may please go to the podium with the microphone. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And we are ecstatic to be here. Thank you for the invite to the Educational Advisory Board meeting. Good to see my board member, Ms. Marcia Andrews. Thank you for being here. And I'd like to also, before I get started, acknowledge my assistant principal, Mrs. Candace Dye, who's also here. Okay, so I'd like to give you just a brief overview. I'm not sure, maybe it'll come up. If not, I can just give you the overview. Golden Grove is growing like hotcakes, right? So we are extending our K through 5. We have 7 new portables that are have been installed, and we will put our 5th grade students there. We are 870 Gators strong and counting. It's funny because when I did the report, I did the PowerPoint, we were at 863. We're now at 870 and counting. And that's a good problem to have. So we're super excited about that. So our demographics are pretty much a mirror of the population that serves our students. Our staff is very diverse. We have a growing Hispanic population. Currently, we're about 12% Black, 39% Hispanic, 41% white. And we also have a growing ELL population as well as SWD, just our students with disabilities. 90% of our staff members have at least 7 years experience. They are, listen, we recruit and we retain highly effective teachers. They don't go anywhere unless they're retiring or if someone's moving out of state, they stay with us. So that's a good thing because we have some solid teachers and stability. In regards to school safety, we have a school resource officer, and we have a threat assessment team on site. Our staff is trained in crisis response, as well as students are trained in all of the safety drills that we're mandated to participate in every month. Our standards-based instruction include our AMP program, which is the accelerated math program, which we're growing. We went from 1 4th grade class this year to 2 4th grade classes. Last year to 2 4th grade classes this year. We have at least 4 3rd grade AMP programs as well. So we're thriving and we're moving in the right direction. Our goal is to continue to grow that because we want to make sure that every student has an opportunity to accelerated classes, because we all know whatever the expectations are, the students will rise to that occasion. So we're excited to offer those programmings. We also have on staff our fine arts team, which includes music, PE, art, media, technology. And by the way, we are a school program, school choice program for technology. Well, let me tell you, we have no seats. The only seats we have are in-house seats. So, we don't have any room for any students that are not in our SAC area, but all the students that are in the SAC area for Golden Grove do get the technology. We celebrate in numerous ways. We have our golden readers, our golden scientists, our math rock stars. We're always trying to let the kids know how proud we are, and we always push them to the next level. We want to push their thinking. We also have our Student of the Month, Honor Roll, Principal Honor Roll, My Brothers, Sisters, Keepers, President's Awards, Promise Awards. We have the Rock Star Game Cart because we no longer have a game room because we have no room. There's no room in the inn. So we had to be creative, and now we have a game cart that the students have to work collectively in order to get that game card. They have to earn so many rock stars. There's 30 rock stars they have to earn as a collective body. So they're always, encouraging each other to make good choices. In regards to extracurricular activities, we have a safety patrol, teachers up tomorrow, sec meet, band, drum circle. There's gardening club. There's so much for everybody to do because we all know school is important. Academics are critical, but they also have to have something to have that hook, something to connect to other than academics. So everyone feels like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. So we do have that for all of our students. We have been a 5-star school for over 20 years. We have an active PTO, SAC, an incredible SAC, community members, business partners, an incredible SAC. Great partnerships with local businesses. If you want to know about us, you can check out our Facebook page. You can check on X, which is formerly Twitter, Parent Link. We communicate all kinds of ways with our parents because we want to make sure that they're included. Our goal is to make sure we build a stronger bridge between school and home. So that's what we work towards. And we're a collaborative school. We want to make sure that everyone feels like they are a part of the overall goal, and that is to make sure every child reaches his or her highest potential. In regards to district recognition, we are a school of excellence, which is earned through the Florida Department of Education based on the grade calculation. And if the grade calculation is in the 80th percentile or higher for the last 2 or 3 years, then you get that distinct recognition. And if you want a great place to send your kid to get a well-rounded education, Golden Grove is the place. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Right, thank you very
Gotta
much.
come up to the, you have to come up to the microphone and give, you have to give it, excuse me, you have to come up to the microphone and give your address. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Board Chair, there's a place for public comments at the end of the meeting.
Right, so we should wait until then? Okay, no, you can, but later.
Write it down so you don't forget.
So the last thing I want to say before I take my seat is that between Mrs. Di and I, we have a total of 57 years of experience as educators. So we know this is our business, this is our home, this is our mission. And the last 5 years of that, we've let this work together. So I wouldn't want any other partner than Mrs. Di because she completes me as a leader. So I want to make sure that you know that she is my sidekick.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any questions from the board? I know we had
I
some
do.
comments about some of the issues that were occurring on the buses and with things going on with some of the bus drivers. We talked about that on the phone, but I thought maybe you would like to hear some of what Ms. Edgecombe has to say about that.
I think it's later. Or
It's
do we do it now?
Is
Yeah,
that
it's
later
after
too?
the- It's right after.
So they have to stay.
But I do have a question.
All right.
I do have a question for you, Ms. Edgecombe. And it's regarding the accelerated program that you mentioned. So does Golden Grove have an accelerated program for strictly math since you guys are a tech school? Or do you guys also have accelerated for like language arts or?
So our EM program is as big as the accelerated program is just from that.
Okay.
Most of the kids that are in the accelerated program are also getting that accelerated pace in other
Okay.
content areas. Also, that's where our secondary comes in too, because the secondary is something in addition to what students, when they're authentically engaged in the academic process
Okay.
during the regular school day. Secondary is another science program that will give them that enrichment. But most of the classes that we have in our school is all about differentiating instruction. Wherever you are, we're gonna get you to that next level. So if you're a level 5, you will have to stay at level 5. And no going back. So we're gonna continue to push you in and provide instructional delivery at that level to make sure you continuously climb that ladder.
Okay, awesome. And I ask because I know that Golden Grove isn't technically a gifted school. So typically when a child is tested gifted, they go and have their ESC meeting with your ESC coordinator, and then they're given the option of staying or then going to H.L. Johnson, which is our designated feeder school. So I'm only asking because I do know there are a lot of people in the community who ask the question, well, why can't I just keep them at Golden Grove? Are they going to be able to get, challenged? Are they going to have more difficult or more engaging material throughout the day? So that the answer to that question would be yes. Okay.
Absolutely. And we do have a lot of students that chose to stay at
Right.
Golden Grove, because they understand that, listen, we're going to push your child no matter where they are, because the goal is everybody must show growth. That's what we believe in. I don't care if you're a level one, you're gonna have to show me a year's growth. Everybody has, that's the expectation.
Okay.
Everyone must show a year's growth.
Perfect. Thank
At
you.
least.
Thank you for answering that question.
I have a question. May I go? Okay, Principal Edgecombe, I just have a question about, you said you have classrooms that you've brought in.
Modules, yes. We have
Okay,
7.
you modules. Now, with those modules that came in, are your main school able to handle like the phys ed program, the music program with all the new students coming in?
Yes.
Yeah, the main building.
Yes, because what happens if we, well, first of all, we've earned 2 units based on the projection. We projected 889, we're at 870 right now. So I'm pretty sure we may exceed that, which means that they will allot us additional units to make sure we're able to abide by and stay in compliance with the teacher-student ratio, which is for K3 is 1:18 and 4.45 is 1:22. So, yeah, we're good. Now, I don't know what's gonna happen if we get more than that. I guess I have to give up my office and be a principal. We've had that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
one other comment. We'd like to talk about a school tour, so maybe that's something to think about.
Absolutely, anytime, let me know. We're getting some painting done first.
Oh, okay.
We're finishing up the penny sales tax, so they should be done with that in the next maybe 10, 12 days, but
Oh, yeah, we're
absolutely in the
thinking
fall.
after school starts.
Yeah. So you can see what goes on.
Thank you so
Good luck
much.
and happy.
Thank
You
you.
know.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm familiar with the hallways.
Anything
you.
else? No? Okay, our next speaker is Mr. Brian McClellan. He's the principal of Osceola Creek. And he also spoke to me on the phone very cordially, had a great conversation. So he's going to give us a little overview and see if we have any questions.
We're good. All right. Who's a tech wizard? Yeah. All right. Well, Linda covered it all, so I'd like to address any questions. No, my name is Brian McClellan, principal of Osceola Creek Middle School. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's been a few years since I've been to the Westlake Advisory Board. The last time we were in the trailer up on Seminole Pratt, so I appreciate the opportunity. Just want to start off with our mission statement. I'm not going to insult your intelligence, but in a nutshell, we're trying to get, not used to that one. All right. We're just trying to get the best out of your kids and provide them as much support as we can. Middle school is a unique area for sure. Kids go through a lot of different emotions, feelings, growth, figuring themselves out. So when we're here, we're just trying to support them as much as we can, get the most out of them, put them on an academic focused road, and then get them to the next level. A brief history of Osceola Creek. We are getting ready to enter our 21st year. We were opened in August of 2004. We are an A-rated school by the state of Florida. We've got great kids, great community, great staff. So again, I just finished my 6th year there. I know that we were a B school the first year we came out of COVID. We were able to recover that. We were one of 2 middle schools that went back to an A last year. Or 2 years ago. We haven't got the school grade yet, but we're sitting at a high percentage. We feel very confident about the academic progress and the continuation of that excellence. It died on me. There we go. Okay, here's an overview of the school as a whole. Similar to what Linda said, there's very, very close demographical representation, to be honest with you. And what I did not know, you have more kids than we do. So we're a smaller school, to be honest with you. This past year, we had 830. We're projected to be 875. Next year, we've got 860 currently. So you can see where we are right now in terms of demographics, very similar to what Linda has. And, I also want to recognize Westlake. When I got here 6 years ago, the demographics, that was not this. This has brought diversity into our community. When I got there, we were 55% white, we were 11% black, we were 12% Hispanic, and you can see the change in our representation. And I'm sure you get to feel that in your community as well. So in my opinion, it's a wonderful thing. Our ELL population has started to grow as well. That's our English language learners, and our students with disabilities just about mimic exactly what Golden Grove has there as well. Okay. Our free and reduced lunch is a little bit of a misleading statistic that you have up there. Again, when we don't do the free and reduced lunch applications the same way we've done historically, they apply a national statistic to it. But the 5% is a little misleading when it comes, as if we don't complete as many applications as we had in the past when when lunch is free for everybody and breakfast is free. So there's no need to do that same application, which results in that statistic. Wanted to share with you actually our performance as well. So you can kind of get an overview of the school as a whole when you look at our performance. I think I have a laser on here. Maybe I do. So you'll see the green is this past year's, this past year's performance. Again, our grade is waiting to be announced. We are at 68%, which is an A. We're at 66% this year. The new statistic that they brought in this past year that they did not have last year is learning gains of individual students. They did not have that last year because it was the first year of a new test. They did not have an opportunity to demonstrate a gain. We really did very well with learning gains, which really, as Linda was saying, that year's growth, that's what represents. Did you move up? Did you go in the right direction? We're not asking you to move mountains in a year. You know, if you're down here, you just get to here and that's a growth. We don't expect you to be here. Okay? Yet. Athletic opportunities at Osceola Creek, we have the same middle schools athletics that all schools offer. We have boys and girls basketball, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls volleyball. We have boys baseball, girls softball, and then track for both. Now, what we don't have, we can supplement in terms of intramural sports. So we do have some groups that, hey, you didn't make the track team, but we have walk, jog, and teachers sponsor it. Hey, you didn't make the basketball team, but we have open gym for students after the basketball season to get better to try for next year. So we really offer all the same offerings that all middle schools have, just a little smaller to that. Again, we talk about extracurricular activities. Again, you're going to see some overlap from what Golden Grove offers in terms of the SECME. We don't have chorus, which many middle schools have, so we supplement that with a singing club. We don't have a drama class, so we supplement that with clubs. You know, we try to give our kids as many opportunities as we can, but the limitation of the elective offerings prohibits us from doing so on a daily basis, and we kind of supplement that with the extracurricular opportunities. In addition to just the academic, we have some other areas as well. You know, we have robotics clubs, we have a dance club, we have one of the more popular clubs, believe it or not, is crochet club. We have so many kids that come out to do crochet with the teacher, and they make things and they take them to hospitals and give them to local kids. So it's really a nice thing to see. And I don't think we always envision stuff like that when it comes to school. What makes us us? We're a hidden gem in this community, as I'm sure you're going to hear that from a lot of us. But our size and our location is really, in my opinion, what distinguishes us from everyone else. We're one of the real communities that is still kind of present in Palm Beach. You know, there's a lot of movement from a lot of areas, but it's been to my experience for 6 years here at Osceola Creek and the 8 years at Seminole Ridge prior. Once you're here, you kind of stay here. There's not a lot of people that leave. Now, right now, we got a lot of people coming in with Westlake, but when they get here, they don't really leave. And I think that's a value to our school and our community. It's very common for our school to have a teacher, hey, I taught your mom. I know your brother. You know, they know each other. So when you're walking around and it's like, hey, you might encounter Mr. McClellan as the math teacher, but you don't have him, but I approach you because I had your brother 3 years ago or 7 years ago, or your mom came through. And it just makes it that much easier when it comes to communication and familiarity with the school. Many of our current staff live in this community and they're invested in this community. They have kids that come through our school. They have kids that come, kids through Linda's school, kids through Bob's schools. So they do everything they can to make this community what it is. And that's public service on a daily basis at a middle school level. Again, I think that that's something to be recognized. We're not all schools, not all communities have that same participation and engagement. That's really us in a nutshell. I can sit here and talk all day about my school. I'm proud of my school. I'm proud of the students. I'm proud of the staff. I'm proud of the things we've been able to accomplish. I know there's always opportunities for improvement. If we go back to our school grades, if it's not 100 across the board, then we got an opportunity to improve, you know, but it's also important to recognize the accomplishments that we've had and maybe just getting to a 70 from where we were at a 62 before. So we're constantly trying with that growth mindset, understanding that we'll probably never get everybody to 100, but we can keep pushing and try to get everybody where they need to be. So with that, I just wanted to open it up to see if there's any questions or discussions that I can share with you folks.
Have you had exceedingly high enrollment growth?
We've had growth. I wouldn't say that we've had exceedingly high. When I talk about that, like last year, we were projected to have 875 kids. We did not get there. This year, we're projected to get 875 kids. We're not quite there. But if we go back to 5 years ago, we were 743 kids. You know, so when you look at that and you say, hey, now we're 860, that's 117 more, you know, that's almost 15%. So it's growth, but it's not it doesn't always appear as growth when you look at Western Pines with 1,200 kids, or when you look at an elementary with 900 kids. You know, it kind of looks different when you're like, hold on, you only have 840. We're growing, but always take more, Dr. Kaplan. Because with more growth comes more resources, and with more resources comes more opportunities and elective offerings for kids and support for the kids. So we are growing. I'd like to grow a little faster.
I'm sure you will. There's people.
We,
moving
I
here
tell you,
daily,
you know, we
Yeah.
get most of the kids that we get registering are from this community. I'll be honest. Most of them are coming from Westlake. Most of them are coming down from Broward and Dade. You know, we are also zoned for the new communities off Northlake across from Ibis. We don't get a lot of those students in. You know, so I know that's still in the process of being built. That the ancient tree, I think, is kind of wrapped up. The Avenir is nowhere close to wrapped up.
Right.
So we're hoping to see a little bit of growth from those respective communities.
So they're
as well.
zoned for.
They're zoned for us
Okay,
as well, yes.
gotcha. And then
When
I,
you look at Osceola Creek zone, look at Seminole Pratt Whitney. And the west goes to us and the east goes to Western Pines, except Westlake, they come to us. So Westlake is the only difference on the east side of Seminole Pratt Whitney. When you look at Northlake, everything on that side, Northlake's the same as Seminole Pratt. If you're on the north side, you come to us. If you're on the south side, you go to Western Pines.
and then I did have a question regarding drama and chorus. Is
Sure.
there anything that we can do as the board to help facilitate the implementation of some of these clubs that you guys are lacking?
You know, we have the clubs. What I would love to do is be able to share information to maybe advertise with the community, see if we can get some attention to those clubs. You know, when we have our performances, what happens is if your kid's there, you're there. But if your kid's there, there's not too many people who are there. And I think if we bring more attention to that, we might have more engagement of the kids and more desire to participate in it. It's also different when you've got a teacher teaching it in a class every day. I mean, right now, I'll be honest, we've got a secretary that does it 2 days a week after school on her time for a supplement of about $1,000 a year. You know, and she makes the costumes herself. She draws she paints everything. She produces it all herself. So I'm hoping what the community could do is just bring attention and support. But what the community can indirectly do, as more kids start to come in and we have more opportunities, we can explore the possibility of hiring a drama teacher for that and give them more consistent exposure to it.
Awesome.
I have a few questions.
No problem.
What do you find is your biggest academic challenge with your students when you're drilling down in the data that you need the most assistance in, is whether it be math or reading? Where are you finding out your biggest challenge has been so
Our
far?
biggest challenge is moving our lowest level readers.
Okay.
It's really getting the kids from that level 1, level 2 up to an area of proficiency, you know, and from the kids' perspective, they want that too, because I'm not sure everybody that's familiar, like if you're level 1 or level 2 in reading, you're
Yeah.
considered below grade level and you go to intensive reading. So what that means is now all of a sudden, I can't take drama. I might not be able to have gym. I can't take the electives I want. And that becomes frustrating to the kids, you know? And when we talk about growth by them, a kid may demonstrate growth. I went from a low level 1 to high level 1. And in the school grades eyes, that's spectacular. But in intensive reading, that doesn't get you out.
So that leads me to my second question. With all of these extracurricular activities, I know we have the drama and the art. I know in middle school it's a little early, but what are we doing for those students that don't really, you know, you look at your level 1 and level 2 sometimes, but it's even some of your high performing students that really are not tracking for academics. What are we doing to assist them and getting them into some of the activities, whether it be with electronics, plumbing, or anything else like that, where we can, because, you know, we've in education for so long have really force fed them into that college track.
Right.
What
That's
do we,
one of the things, actually, this year we became a Title I school. For those not familiar, that means our free and reduced lunch hit a certain mark and we get extra resources. So meeting through the parents, that's one of the topics that came up about, hey, how do we create enthusiasm and excitement for students that maybe don't have it based on the fact that I'm in intensive reading and I'm stuck and I feel like I'm never going to get out of this. So we have some guest speakers that we have scheduled to come in to talk about other coursework and potential options for students moving forward that maybe aren't college. You know, maybe
you don't have to whisper it. It's not a bad thing.
maybe
It really is not.
going to the university. You know, so we know that we have a tremendous resource with the high school down here in terms of some of the programs that they offer, specifically the construction and the auto shop program that don't gear towards the student that's extremely strong in academics. That doesn't mean a strong academic student doesn't have interest in that and pursue it, but it gives an opportunity for a kid that maybe is recognizing the university is not for me. I need to get into a trade or I need to get into something. So that is one avenue that we discussed with our stakeholders at our Title I meeting, and we're looking to bring in more options for them to meet with our students about course selection and progression to kind of have a plan about, hey, if you're not going to be the one that gets to AP level coursework in calculus, maybe this is another avenue for you.
So my last question, and I appreciate the answer, would be, what has been your biggest, most challenging staffing issue? As far as, I mean, when you're looking at, moving students to the next level from a 3 to a 4, or 4 to 5, or especially those level 1 and 2s, what has been your biggest staff issue as far as?
Well, consistency, meaning occupying all of the positions that we have vacant. Right now, I have 4 vacant positions. When we talk about reading class alone, my 6th year, we're on our 8th and 9th reading teacher there, and we only have 2 a year. So there's a lot of turnover. I wish I could say the same thing that Linda says, that once they get there, they never leave. The ones that were there forever never left until they retired, and now it's hard to find those ones that are going to stay there longer. When I first got there, we had 2 that had been there since the door opened. They stayed there until they retired, and since then, that's when the other 8 have come in. And it might be hey, I'm going to try a new profession. And after a couple of years, that's not what I like. Okay, so when we talk about staff challenge, it's providing a full staff.
And do you find that it's in the most needed areas for reading and math?
I find that if it's most of the time, yes, but when it's even not in the most needy areas, that impacts the other areas. And what I mean by that is this, Mr. Miller. Last year, we started with 2 English teachers resigning 2 days before school started. Okay. And they're both 8th grade English teachers. So now you're stuck with a position where you can't delay school opening. They're coming. And nobody wants to say you've got a different person in front of you every single day and we're going to just shuffle you around. So that leads to a revision of a school, how we're going to cover this. And it may be, well, we're going to cover it with the English teachers during their plannings, and we're going to, during your off period here, you're going to cover that. During your off period, you're going to cover that. And that leads to, I don't have time to plan. I don't have time to grade. That leads to burnout to a degree. That contributes to turnover. So really, I think that, I'm excited about the ones we have coming in this year. I'm hoping that 8 and 9 are the end for that respective area. But I also had a science teacher resign 40 minutes before I came over here.
What's the impediment to hold on to them, do you think? I'm
What's that?
sorry, did you still have?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with that real quick.
Yeah.
What has been, and I'm sure what has been the main reason for the resignations?
Well, the one I had today was I accepted a job in Florida virtual, and I prefer to be out of state, and I can stay at my cabin in Georgia. The one that I had last week in the same division was I can't afford to live in Palm Beach County. I got divorced last year. My husband, we sold the house. I'm tired of staying with my mom. I have to move to Volusia County. I got a teaching job up there, and I can afford to live. That's a lot of it is cost of living for the new ones. For the older ones, I think they're just starting to see a little bit of shift in terms of education, and, it might not be 100% what they have been accustomed to, and they decide it's time to go. And what I mean in shift is, we spend a lot of time, and Linda hint on it. Hey, we need to meet the needs of all the students. If Miss Barron and Miss Kaplan are different levels, I can't teach to the middle and hope they get it. I got to try to give them both a little something so they can get it. And that's an unfamiliar process for somebody that maybe has come down the pike historically and says, listen, you get what you get, and you don't get upset, and I'm teaching here, and they got to step it up. And as administrators, we have to get in there and say, listen, you know what, we have to provide resources to all of our students. So when it comes to a veteran teacher, I think there's a shift in some. When it comes to new teachers, most of them weather the storm, but if they don't, it has a lot to do with like I said, employment options.
My suspicion. I just wanted to know what, yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't think that Osceola or anybody does anything different than others. I know, speaking with other principals, I know everybody has a similar concern in terms of staffing. I haven't met anybody that doesn't work at Bach or Dreyfus that has a full staff consistently.
I have a question, Principal
Sure.
McClellan.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
You mentioned that you have some challenges with your reading.
Sure.
Kids coming in. The feeder schools from the county, do they all have the same reading program, literacy programs? Is there any consistency with
There's
that?
different, elementary has a program, secondary has a program, middle has a program.
Oh, no, the fourth graders coming from the elementary schools coming into the middle school.
Mhm.
Are those all different reading and literacy programs?
Yeah. There's a different, I mean, elementary has a different program than secondary.
No, I mean, can you tell what school a
Oh.
student came from based on the level of reading? So this elementary school is different than this elementary school. There's different programs, so,
The schools in the community.
They're
it's
consistent?
not like there's any, it's not like Frontiers any different than them.
Yes.
They
All
all
do
use
the
the same
same.
program.
yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Any further questions? Those are good questions. I'm just going to follow up on the same thing that you mentioned. How do we hold on to these teachers? So what could we do to
It's the age,
help you with
You know, I
that?
think it
it's,
goes.
it's the age-old question. I mean, this has been going on for decades, and it's only getting worse.
I think it's more turnover now than when I started.
Yeah, I mean,
think it is.
I'm, you know, a former educator
Okay.
and principal, left in 2004. One of the reasons I left was for monetary reasons. And now it's really getting, you know, after COVID especially, with the property values, now I'm in real estate. The property values are so astronomical, rents are so high. You can't have a teacher coming into, a new teacher being able to, what is the starting salary? 30-some thousand dollars a year
We're up higher now. I think it's high 40s now.
to start?
Yeah.
I think it's 42, yeah.
42?
But it's
Okay.
not, I mean, let's be honest,
It's- I mean-
42 can't afford rent.
No, you can't. And that's my, and, you know, I remember when I came down from Pennsylvania, the offer was $26,600 in sun is what they offered me in beach life, in the beach life. And it was barely able to survive on at that time. So I can only imagine what a single person is doing without a dual income. It's very difficult to be able to afford housing here. I mean, the average, you know, you look at the average rents, it's almost, you know, if you're trying to rent a home, it's $3,000 and above. If you're looking for a one bedroom, you're still over $2,000 a month. Do the math on somebody that's making 40-some thousand dollars and they got to pay for their medical and everything else.
You know, I can't speak for Linda, but it's almost to the point where when we have out-of-state applicants, it's tough to even consider because I've had so many that call you up 2 months later and say, I can't move there. I can't afford it. I thought I could, but I flew in town for rent. I can't find a place under $2,800. So, you know, but at the same time, there are many great ones out there, you know, and I know right now it's kind of taking the shift towards what's not going well. But, you know, when we talk about 55 teachers and we say, you know, 8, 9, 10 of them, we still got 45 that are excellent, doing everything, coming every day, you know, balancing that out. So, you know, it is a challenge, you know, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I think that we all understand that public sector employment, regardless of where you are, has always been a challenge to a degree. You know, we're not in it for the money. We're in it for the reward that we get when that kid comes up to you down the road and says, hey, thanks, Colleen, for helping me. I know I didn't tell you 12 years ago, but that stuck with me and that's what got me here. And Mr. Miller, I'm sure you had that in Pennsylvania as well. You know, it's just sometimes that's not really what people call you about.
Right. I was actually from Pennsylvania, but I taught in Broward and for 14, 15 years. But I do remember, and one of the reasons I did leave was because of the money situation. And I was at your level and it was still trying to raise a family was very difficult. So I commend you all for doing that. And I was just, and I think the board is here. You know, one of the reasons we formed the board for Westlake is to be an advocate for you and hopefully be able to help with resources and ideas versus an adversarial purpose. I mean, I don't think anybody's here for that. But I think the one thing that, you know, I said this at the last meeting, my main focus is in my time in education, I remember in college and I would hear this, the saying this was, listen, if you don't go to college, you're going to work with a name tag on your shirt. Well, let me tell you something. I work with a name tag on my shirt now. I work in a job that does not require college education. And I think for a long time as educators, we've had this stigma where everybody had to go to college, and that's not the case. And I just want everybody to have an opportunity to feel that self-worth. And when you look at a student that's even at a level 1 or 2, and some that are level 5, they don't like school. I mean, you look at it, and some of them are really good with their hands or outdoors, and there's a lot of opportunities for folks. And I think for a long time as educators, we look past those children.
I would agree with that. You know, when we talk about salary, I think it's important to also recognize like Palm Beach offers one of the highest salaries of anybody in the county or anybody in the state. So I don't want this to be heard as complaint. I'm not complaining about the salary. There's not much more we can do,
Right.
You know, but that sometimes has impacts on potential employees. You know, Palm Beach has remained extremely competitive and made it a priority to offer the high salary to our students or to our staff to attract a qualified candidate. Not to mention, you know, there's a benefit of signing on now that Palm Beach offers you where you get $10,000 extra if you have X amount of years in service, regardless of where you were. That's part of the sales tax. You know, so it is an attractive, but sometimes, like we said, sometimes that 48 or that 58, if you get up to that, sometimes that's not satisfactory. So,
Right.
you know, but again, I don't want it to be interpreted as any complaint by the district or anything like that. I think we have a very competitive salary compared to all other districts. You know, I just think that Palm Beach is an expensive place.
Agreed.
So,
I have a comment on that. I'm not too sure about this. Maybe Zoe can help me. I know we have something called a Happy Program that helps people that are trying to get into their first home. And it's been discussed quite a bit at the council meetings that I go to frequently. But I think if I'm right, it covers police, firefighters, and nurses,
okay.
but not teachers. Is that right?
I can't speak on it because I know there were recent changes to it. But I don't run the program, but I know there's been some updates to widen and broaden the program.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's something that we could better inform you about. And I would say maybe we need to advocate if they're not in that group.
Remember
They
when
should be in that
when
group.
we were first getting started here at Westlake, some young ladies came out and met with our staffs, and I think they were in the realty side of things and talked about some programs and some incentives they could provide.
Right.
You know, that may be something to consider moving forward. And like I said, I think that from everybody's position here, we want the best qualified, not only teacher, but neighbor. You know, I mean, we don't want to bring people into the community that don't have the same vision and focus and intent as maybe we do. So that could be something to consider for sure, Dr. Kaplan.
Right, I'll look into that further. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. You got it.
Time.
Thank you. Like I
Great
said,
work
for you,
with
so-
students. Okay, now, can we add a speaker to the agenda, or should we wait as a board, as a, public comment? I know Miss Andrews gave us each a packet and she wanted to speak a little bit if she could.
She can speak during the public comment.
Okay, all right. That's great. Okay, so now we're on to unfinished business. And this item is some of the discussion that we had at our last meeting about not just student behavior to student and students, but also towards school bus drivers. So I think some of the people here on the board had some questions about that, how that was addressed in the schools and if that has been a problem. I know when I talked on the phone, I believe we mostly talked about student behavior amongst the students, but the issue of bus drivers being aggravated or having a little bit of, I don't know what, thrown at them. I know that was brought up.
Yeah, it was brought up to me just amongst, neighborhood talk, that there are behavioral issues on the bus. I do believe that the bus driver turned around and went back to Osceola at one point, which, yeah, I mean, that's what I would do if I was driving the bus. My mom always said, don't make me turn this car around. And I never made her turn my car around. But is there anything, that you guys see as trending? How, what we can do to advocate for better behavior on buses? I can imagine, I know how hard it is to staff teachers. I'm a former teacher myself. I had to leave because of it's hard to be a teacher in Florida. But I can't imagine keeping bus drivers and how hard that is for the logistics of things. And, that could be a last straw, just having a kid.
I remember that bus incident. It was right before Christmas, or right before spring break, I believe.
Yeah.
Buses aren't an easy situation. I think it's important, and I don't want this to be interpreted the wrong way. Bus drivers are not employees of the school.
Right.
So it's very limited in terms of the interaction you have with bus drivers and what you can get from the bus driver other than a referral dropped off in the morning and said this happened. That specific day, there was many things being thrown on the bus, and they all came back And I think that particular day, 19 students were suspended once we got the bus video and we could confirm everything that happened on the bus. You know, buses now aren't like buses when we were there. We got on the bus, the goofy kids were in the back, the quiet kids were in the front. There was a lot allowed, but there's not very limited throwing, very limited altercations. Okay. The bus now has microphones, multiple cameras on it, and some have aids. Usually it's the special education buses that have aids. Buses, I think most of us would interpret a bus chair to say it can accommodate 2 people. In transportation's world, at least 3 can sit there. So when you talk about crowding on a bus, you talk about taking a bus that's maybe meant for what, 100 kids, maybe 60 kids, and you're putting 100 to 120 on that. And you're telling the one guy, focus on this and keep the kids calm. It doesn't always work. So when we have that particular situation following that, we ordered the video, we suspended all the kids, all the parents followed all the families back to the school. They're saying the bus driver did this person threw that. You never know what happened until you get the video. So immediately order the video. As soon as you make the video, you can make the determination of what happened. Following that, I know that I personally went to the bus driver and I said, when these 16 come back, let me know. I went and talked to the entire bus. I talked to every single bus. We talked to every single student that next day about expecting behaviors. Okay. Talk doesn't always translate into adjustments. But really the buses are a situation that we rely on the bus driver to tell us what occurred and we address what we see. And when we see inappropriate behaviors, we make contact with the parents, we make contact with the students, we coach them about what we should do. And then if we need to, we send people to ride on the bus with them. But it's just like when I go into a classroom or when Linda goes into a classroom, all of a sudden there's no behavior issues. So if Mr. Miller is saying his class is off the chain and Mr. McClellan comes in and I said, what are you talking about? Keith, these kids are spared. But the next day when I'm not there, they're not. So when I'm on the bus and I'm riding with them, sure, it's an easy ride. Everybody's yes, sir, no, sir, okay, seated and no profanity. The next day, 6 referrals come. You know, so I think it's one of these things where it's our responsibility to educate behaviors and monitor behaviors. Okay. It's our responsibility to communicate with families and to discipline situations that surface. We have suspended, in addition to those suspensions that we gave the kids, they were suspended from the bus for 2 weeks after that too. So now their parents can start to maybe have a larger impact on those behaviors and say, if this happens again, I can't drive you here. You know, we had no more issues on that bus after that, but that doesn't mean there won't be more issues down the road. So I think it's a constant situation that I think kids look at buses recess. I'll be honest with you. Now, why they look at it that, I don't know until they get the referral and then they get a consequence, and that usually addresses it. So I know it's not exactly what we're looking for in terms of what are you doing to stop the behaviors. We're monitoring the bus. We are talking to the kids about expectations. We are putting adults on the bus as frequently as we can, which isn't very frequent, I'll be honest with you. And you're involving parents and you're showing videos. You know, when you talk about retention of bus drivers, that's a challenge in itself. Fortunately, Linda and I don't have to directly experience that, but we experience it indirectly because when your child is the one that they have to double back for, that becomes perturbing to you. So it's not an easy task. I think that we probably have a lot more of that than you. You know, I think it's more of a middle school situation than it is elementary for sure. And again, it's just trying to educate the students about what the behavior should be, trying to support the bus drivers about addressing the behaviors that are observed. You know, you also have that fine line of, I don't want to tell the kid you're never allowed to ride a bus again, because then you never see the kid again. And then we talk about the consequence there. Hey, I'd rather have you in a assigned seat behind the bus driver coming here every day than telling you you're never allowed to ride the bus.
You know, I wonder if I know they don't work for the school, but I'm wondering if there's something that can be done in the middle there that you may get some of the bus drivers not wanting to drive.
We do get some of the bus drivers not wanting to drive.
And
I mean,
you
they come to
probably
me.
hear the stories, right?
Sure.
But if they knew that there were consequences and that people are really looking at those videos, they might be more willing to do that. I don't know if there's like a one-page sheet that could be designed that you give to the is it one company, one
I
bus?
mean, they
company?
work for the school, they're school district employees. We don't outsource the bus drivers.
Oh, okay.
So they all
So
work
they
for
do
the,
work for the.
they do,
school.
they work for the district. They just don't like, Linda and I don't hire bus drivers. The
Right.
Department of Transportation takes care of all of that and they just kind of assign them based on their locations, you know?
So maybe that's a suggestion that
Could
we
be,
could do with
you
the,
know.
with the.
What we try to do
school
on a
something.
different note, we try to recognize our bus drivers once a month
Oh,
by
you
just
do?
saying, hey, here's donuts, here's a t-shirt, you know. We have the same group out there and they also run our school-wide positive. So we try to do it once a month where we give them something. It's not, you know, it's not anything spectacular.
Can I ask
but
you a question though? Do
donut,
parents,
Gatorade.
do parents pay for the buses or are they
No.
free for all?
No, everything's free.
Free for all.
Public education, there's really nothing that you're forced to pay for.
I'm from Massachusetts and my district with parents had to pay for the buses.
Really?
No, it's unlimited transfer. I mean, it's limited in terms of the proximity which they'll take you. There's established routes. But I mean, hey, my school, we take a bus goes out to Bellblade every day. You know.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
For the specific incident where the children were suspended from the bus for 2 weeks, was the bus driver like brought in for any like formal meeting saying like, hey, this is what we were able to, you know, to rectify?
No, I work,
Or-
usually I just go directly to
Okay.
the supervisor and communicate, order the
Okay.
tape, then my assistant principal who's at the bus loop kind of communicates. Because what happens when you write a referral, you have to give a copy to the person that wrote it.
Okay,
So what happens is once we process the bus referrals, we give them back to the bus drivers and say,
Okay.
here's your copy. So you see that.
because I was
You know.
thinking like to piggyback off of what you were saying, like in
Yeah.
addition to a lot of the reinforcement measures you guys are putting in place, I think it would be really awesome for them to feel like their voice was heard. Like we support
Right.
you, we back you.
And
we
that bus
understand
driver that came back that day, he definitely wanted to be heard. You know, and understandably so. I mean, I watched that video, guys. If you
Glad you
watch the
did.
video, you look at yourself, you go, oh, what are these kids? What is this 13-year-old group doing?
Yeah.
And it's just, they're going crazy. That's what's going on right now.
Is there a like 3 strikes, you're out, 3 referrals, you're done for now?
Off
2
the
weeks?
bus, we haven't done that. I've suspended them from the bus for a period of time, but I've never said you can never ride the bus. And they
No,
get,
I meant if the 3 referrals, then you're suspended for 2 weeks from the bus.
oh, those
whatever.
kids not, 3 referrals on the bus. you're
Yeah,
saying?
something, you know.
Usually when you get that, it doesn't even take 3 referrals to get
Okay.
you suspended from the bus. Suspension from the bus is one of the easiest things you can do because you still get them to school and you just tell the parent you're inconvenienced for 3 or 4 days. And then usually that sits in for about a month or 2. And then if the kid kind of hops back on, then you have a reference with the parent. You know, in addition to that, there's a lot of assigned seats following incidents, you know, but assigned seats are only as good as the people that know them. You know, and when you talk about a bus driver, hey, I can't speak for Linda, but I'll say this. If you see a bus driver 10 out of 10 days over a 2-week span, that's a really good bus driver. Because you might see that bus driver six of those 10 days and there's a substitute driver the other times. And that's, I mean, let's go back to our 13-year-old days. If you had an assigned seat and you know that bus driver didn't know it, are you sitting in your assigned seat? Well, probably not from a 13-year-old perspective, you know, so.
Well, I just got a nice note from Zoe and she says it's confirmed that the Happy program is for certified K through 12 educators and classroom teachers
Awesome.
and other Florida Department of Education staff.
I'll reach
So
out to you guys.
we'll
and see if
get
we
you a
can't send
form.
somebody out before school,
Share it,
maybe
yeah.
present to our group and just let them know that, especially like I said, some of the younger folk. I know some of them, you know, not all teachers are the sole breadwinners in the house, and really to them, it's like, hey, I'm fine anyway. We live in a community and we're comfortable. But you know, when you talk about the person moving out of state that all of a sudden says, I can't find rent for under $3,600, and you know, maybe that's attractive to them to have an opportunity. And from what I understand, I believe there's apartments or row homes in here that aren't single family that maybe could be more affordable to some as well.
And Minto does offer a
What?
discount as well. I think it's like a 2%
Okay.
discount for educators and first responders too. So on top of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's 3.
Thanks for that clarification, Zoe. You're crushing it tonight.
Awesome. Right, any other questions, anyone? No?
Thank you
Thank you
again.
so much.
Thank you.
All right, take the bus ball.
Thank you, everyone.
Round 2.
Okay, now we're on to new business. I just took the liberty of putting down some ideas that we maybe had talked a little bit about, but we can certainly add to this list. But let me talk a little bit about the first item. I don't know how much you know about this, but we had, one of the council members organize a 5K road race. Were you in the road race, Mr. McClellan? No. And they made quite a bit of money. And there was some discussion about how we distribute this, and then there was discussion about what schools do we distribute it to. So not we decided, I didn't have a vote in this. The council decided that this year it would go to Golden Grove Elementary. So I think the amount is about $2,500. I'm not sure exactly.
The exact amount was 2014 and 2 cents.
Okay. 2014 and 2 cents. So if you have some ideas about how you would like to spend that, could you send that to us? And they were asking us to work with the schools to have the principals make some decision. Maybe there's a project that a teacher spoke to you about and there are supplies or such, and next year it'll probably be your school, so it'll just get bigger, so. I thought that was nice that they decided to send it to the school, so we were very happy that they did that, yes. Okay, we'll talk about it, yes, okay. Anybody have any other notes on that? Nobody here ran, huh?
I did.
You did? Oh, all right, how was it?
It was good.
Yeah?
Really good. Yeah, DJ was awesome at the end.
Okay, now the other topic that was mentioned was Westlake school tours. I would like to see the facilities. I've been trying to drive, around the area to see some of them. When's the multimodal area going to be done, or is it done?
Projected to open for the start of the school year.
It is
From
just
last
the
I-
school year.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, and it's doing well. Yeah, you said you thought it was on track. But I was thinking it might make sense to be there while the students were there and to do it maybe after school is settled for a couple of weeks. But I take your feedback on that and the board members too. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, September would probably be good once the teachers have a good swing of things.
Yeah, I'd like to see it
Takes
if we
about a
could
month
do
for them
that,
to get in their
if we
group.
could all do that together.
Yeah.
What would be a good time for the tours and what would be a good time for us on the board?
Please let me confirm with legal that you would be able to do it together because that could constitute a meeting of the board.
Okay,
$100.
so we may have to do it individually.
Any time after that first week of school, I'd say don't get converted.
The first couple of weeks, I think.
Too many moving parts.
Okay,
It's anytime after that that works for you. Our hours are, the kids are there from 9 to 4. Anything that works for you, then I can make it work for us. It really doesn't make any difference to me. After that first week.
okay.
Maybe we could do like one a month.
Sure. I got a feeling we're probably not going to be able to go together. So it might make sense for the people that each are assigned to the schools if that doesn't work out for the group.
I just want to confirm that I am assigned to Osceola. Is that what it? Okay.
And I believe you will be Golden Grove Elementary.
I think Crystal is.
Yeah, Crystal did Golden Grove.
You're Golden Grove. All right, okay. And the
And then she's-
high school is you.
Yeah.
So maybe I thought we were going to double up on the high school a little bit too. Did you ask if Crystal asked, I think, at one point?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so we get the schools covered, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'll buddy up with somebody or I'll go and.
So Loxahatchee Grove Elementary is no longer.
No, I just got a note from, I texted Greg Langowski and he said it's not within our district. So
Okay, I just have a question about that. The middle school and high school are servicing students from outside Westlake. And the Loxahatchee Grove Elementary School services countywide preschool. So I think that has something to say for Westlake because Westlake students and county students go to Loxahatchee Groves and many Westlake students K to 5 go to Loxahatchee
yeah, I
Groves.
think it's a big issue and I talked to Greg about it Greg Langowski about it after the last meeting. And he said, you know, these borders were drawn some time ago. And I said, what would we have to do to look at that? And he said, well, the state really has a
Yeah.
say in that also. So
Okay.
I will follow up on it again because, you know,
Okay.
students are moving around. But the attorney was pretty strong on that point
Okay.
when we,
It's meant, it's just,
unfortunately,
yeah.
when we brought it up.
It's a STEAM school. They have lots of good programs happening there and lots of good things happening with Westlake students. So that would
Right.
be,
You know, I'm wondering if we were to do some kind of an activity with the schools in Westlake. I'm thinking about, Miss Andrews, what we went to, that we did at the college and all the teachers came together. I think with something like that, we might be able to invite people to
Yeah.
participate
Mhm.
outside that aren't within our district, but to have a liaison specifically, I think that's when we got some pushback.
oh, I see. Okay.
But we'll talk about it further.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because they're going everywhere.
Yep.
Right, but I think it's also outside of the zoning issue because
Yeah.
even though we're not zoned for Loxahatchee Groves, it's the school that we're technically zoned for if you have a special education preschooler.
Yes.
So outside of like the city lines,
That's
every
true.
child that goes to the child finding program is going to be told to go to Loxahatchee Groves if
Yes.
they want to be in the child finding program.
Mhm.
And the same goes for H.L. Johnson with gifted. You know, every child that's tested gifted will have the opportunity. They will sit with, you know, Principal Edgecombe's ESC coordinating team, and they will say, you can stay here or you can go to H.L. Johnson.
Okay.
So I think that it is important that parents in Westlake have all of the information and that we have a say in the type of programs and
That's,
things like that.
you know, that's a good point. And when we talk about this, I'd like to make that point.
Yeah,
Can you send me a note on
Yep.
that? Okay. Because, you know, the more examples we can give them,
yeah, of course.
I think they understand, but I don't get the impression there's a lot of movement on that topic. Why are you smiling?
I was just confirming, any notes, please send to me as the clerk, and I'll
Okay.
send it to the board as a whole.
Yes. Thank you.
'Cause that's just the big one for me, like I was saying, because
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
that as a parent, you're presented that information, and if you don't know anything about like the ESC pre-K or the gifted programs, you're just kind of like, wait, what, you're sending me to Royal Pond, you're sending me to Loxahatchee, like, what are you doing, you know? So I
Right.
think having more information for parents as well as the schools too, I feel like the schools are also like, wait, you live where?
Ms. Andrews, have you been involved in that discussion? I'm sure you have. You talked a little bit about it the last time. Do you see the possibility that we could make a, you know, concerned effort to try to make some change in that, or what we could do?
Yes, I think it would be nice for your legal staff to actually work with the school district's legal staff and talk about that, because those parents need to have service for their children, i.e. H.L. Johnson, Loxahatchee Grove. And I know they're saying the borders, but the borders don't work when we have to make sure we provide the best education for all students, depending on whatever needs they have. So it should be some kind of clause somewhere that can be implemented to make sure that we include those students in those schools, because they have to have the service that they need. So I think your legal could possibly talk to the school board's legal department. Sean Bernard is our general counsel, and they'll probably know who that is, and just kind of debate it a little bit and see how we can make that work, because we don't want to leave any parents out. Their children need to be a part of this, even though they live here, but the service is not provided here. So we have to make sure that we serve all children.
You must get comments on that from parents too, involved all the time. Why can't we go here? Why can't we go there? You know?
And we're able to make it work. So I think it can work, but your attorney wants to be cautious. So I think working with the school district about that point, I think they could help them kind of come up with something.
And
that
then
can
also
be-
the last meeting you had mentioned that when it's time for the Westlake School to be built, that there's gonna be like some type of board, ABC or some type
Yes.
of board. So maybe you
Yes.
can also present to them that the Westlake School have a gifted program and have an ESC VPK.
Absolutely. And as you grow, you'll be getting your own programs anyway. So, yeah, I have some things in your packet that talks about the boundaries and the meetings that'll be coming up. So that, yes, and this is the time to talk about it right now. But for this day and the time and your meeting, we don't want to leave any students, parents out of the discussion. And we certainly want to take care of all those children who are over at Loxahatchee Groves. I spent quite a bit of time there. That's District 6. This is all District 6 that we're talking about. So there should be some kind of legal maneuver that they can do to make it happen.
Okay, I'll bring
Thank
it
you.
up at our next council meeting. Thank you. Now, the item C is future ideas for assisting Westlake schools. I think we got a few ideas today, but maybe some of you have some additional thoughts on how we can assist. I'm thinking about the Happy program, and now I'm thinking about the designations for Westlake and the zoning and all that to work on.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Okay, so Anita and I live in the Crestwind community, 55 plus, and lots of retired people, retired educators, retired business people from all different areas of employment. And I think that we would be able to put a program together. What I would be happy to be the coordinator with the middle school, elementary schools for volunteers as needed. I know that the Loxahatchee School would like us to go help read with their first graders one-on-one after a little bit of training. But also maybe the middle school needs help with, we have retired phys ed teachers, we have retired artists, we have retired landscapers and so forth. Just, and if you can think of something that we can partner with you, I'd be happy to coordinate that to bring our people to you or vice versa, whatever.
My master's is as a reading specialist.
There you go. So I'll contact you.
Yes,
Okay. To coordinate. Thank you.
a great idea. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? Okay, now we have item D, the interaction with District 6 and the Palm Beach County School Board. What do you think we should do with that? Is this your turn?
This is my turn. I knew that I had a chance to come on,
Yes.
so I've been thinking about you all. I want to bring greetings from our superintendent, Michael Burke, to say thank you, Westlake Education Advisory Board, for helping our schools and doing great things, working with the community, working with the students, and our fantastic principals, Mrs. Edgecombe, and your assistant. You all are absolutely fabulous. And Osceola, we love you all so much for what you do, Mr. McClellan. So we're happy to say that we're a part of the team here. And I was happy to see them here tonight, and the presentations were fabulous. I took some pictures to send to the superintendent to let them know that it is about the community. It's about working together. And certainly it's a pleasure to be able to have the Westlake Advisory Council. One of the things, I put this packet together for all of the board members, Chair Kaplan, because it's time to start school. So I knew you needed a calendar.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
didn't have your
Yeah.
calendar
Exactly.
in your packet, we talked about some of these things that I put in your portfolio today, that the first day of school is on August the 12th. But if you look at your calendar, it tells you the students and employees' work days and the student days and all of the holidays, and it carries you right on through to June 2025. And so you can pull this up on the computer too. Many of you know where to find it, but I thought it would be a nice idea to just give you your own personal copy today in case you had any concerns about the calendar. Many of our principals have been out trying to take some vacation, but they've been working 12 months. So they do their best to get some little relaxation and some downtime, but their focus is on their schools, getting the teachers hired. You just heard the story tonight about teachers and the shortage that's all over the country. Hiring is a difficult thing, and you're talking about housing, which is a big thing coming to Palm Beach County. The cost of living, to rent an apartment, to buy a house is just really out of sight. A lot of college graduates now don't come to Palm Beach County. They stay at home because they're trying to make it work. And so we are trying to grow our own here in Palm Beach County, and we're always trying to get the best talent for our children. So, you know, we're getting ready to open our schools, principals, assistant principals, staff, our own hand making things happen. But in your portfolio, I tried to put a few things together for you to let you know too, you're in the North area, the North region. And so I didn't know if you knew who your regional superintendent, Dr. Camille Long, and Maria Bishop is our contact person for elementary. It's in your packet, so you can take time to look. I don't have to go through everything, but some pages in here I thought I'd just highlight. And Mr. Joseph Lee, Dr. Joseph Lee works with the secondary. So whenever you ever have a problem, always contact your principals first. They always know what's going on with their schools, but sometimes if you need to talk to the people who actually supervise the schools, working in tandem with the superintendent, it's your regional office. And so it tells you where they're located. It gives you the phone numbers, and these are people who have been working in the North area and working with Westlake for years. So these are not new people. These aren't new. They know their jobs. And if you ever have a question, certainly start at the school center first, but this is the next level. And then it's to the superintendent's level. And I did put the central regional office in here. That's not you, but many times when we think about the surrounding schools, they may fall in the central region, such as Arden. Thanks to all of you who came to the groundbreaking, but that school is not that far from here, but it actually sits in the central region. So I thought it was a nice idea to let you know that we have a central region administration where they're located and who the people are. Most of your connections will be with the North area. And then also in the packet, I thought it was good to talk about the new schools that are coming and the new schools that may not just sit in Westlake. We've had a wonderful discussion tonight about Loxahatchee Groves. These are all schools in District 6. Westlake is a part of District 6. Many of your students go to these surrounding schools because of the choice programs, because of the gifted programs, special programs that we may not offer right here at Golden Grove or Seminole Ridge or Osceola. There's Western Pines sitting right there in the middle of Westlake. And that is your school, but your children do not go there. So I thought it was nice to know who your surrounding schools are. And most of these schools are in the north area, but something like a Loxahatchee Groves Elementary is in the central. So I wanted you to know who the leaders were in those two areas. And you may say, well, Andrews, I don't need to know that, but you're going to want to pick up this packet when you have a question, but always start with your school center first. And then I want to put in here who your boundary.
Can I ask something about this? Because on the new school sheet that we were just talking about, it says anticipated boundary change timeline. So are they changing their boundaries? And I want to know how they did it.
Which one?
Blue Lake Elementary, West Boylston Middle.
Yeah, well, those are schools that are not in District 6. Blue
Oh.
Lake is in
But I'm
Boca Raton.
wondering if they had to change their boundaries.
They
what
did.
Process they
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
to
they did, they
go
did.
through it.
Mhm. And
You know, learn from people that have done it.
absolutely, you're going to be doing it with Arden very soon. They're opening next year. So you're going to see that whole process, how it works. Your contact person for boundaries, I think I stuck it in there. His name is Stephen A. Levin, and he's your contact person. And when they start looking at the boundaries for Arden, I would suggest you might want to go and see how that works. Sometimes they have meetings over at the district office, sometimes they're online, but whenever a new school is getting prepared to open, they have to go back through that boundary process. And sometimes when there's an overload of students and they have to do some shuffling, the district cannot do that without going through the boundary
Well, I
process.
heard, we talked about a lot of them went to Wellington, and I thought, how did they end up in Wellington as opposed to here?
The ones from Arden?
Yeah,
Oh, that's when they built the school. You know, it was interesting at the time when the developers built it, you know, it was sort of like, it's a Wellington address, but we all know it's not. It's not a Wellington address, but this is how it started. And it was before boundary processes were done. And when they were building the school, it was always a Wellington address, but that was changed. So as we kind of work through the process now, the first school, which is the Arden Elementary School that's coming, that's not the name of it yet. They're going to get ready to name the school probably with this school year. But, you know, it was kind of all the kids went to the elementary school, Binks, Wellington Landings and Wellington High. And it was kind of the way it started with the developer and everybody. It was marketed as Wellington way back in the day, if you all remember that, any of you that were around here. And so it started that way. Now Wellington is overcrowded. This is why we're having to build a brand new high school right off of North Lake back near Osceola coming. So as a result, whenever something starts that's new, a new school, you do get the input. And our District 6 person is Mr. Levin. He is our person. And we worked really hard because we opened the new
Oh,
Dr.
okay.
Joaquin Garcia High School. And that was a big one because we were actually opening that school, but all of the children were coming from a little bit of everywhere. Now with Arden, that's just one small elementary school. It will probably be a lot easy to manage. And even when we probably do your school, Westlake, whatever the name will be, the elementary school, it probably won't pick up a lot of children from elsewhere because once you build an elementary school, I mean, you're looking at Arden now, they have pretty close to 500 children going over to Bings Forest Elementary School. So it's not going to be that much of a change, but there may be some special programs that might pull children from somewhere else when they open the new school right here in Arden. So it's kind of nice to know. I think I put a map in here for you to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it'd be probably.
But is boundary the same? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but is the boundary the same as a zone? Or is that two different things?
Yeah, boundary is a little bit different. We are in District 6. This is our
And
zone.
that's a
District 6.
boundary?
The boundaries will be drawn based on the populations.
Okay. so
And
that's
they,
what we're
and you
talking
have to
about.
play with that a little bit. That's where your boundary committee comes in, where they're drawing the lines. So they're going to be looking at how many students and families live here compared to here. And you will have a say. So your person, your boundary chairperson, your representative will be taking information from you all as to where those lines will be drawn. And these lines can change. Right now, we're sitting and we're looking at Western Pines. Those were drawn some years back. And we talked about it because we knew that the school and all the things that were going to happen with Westlake, that you'd be sitting right here on Western Pines. But at the time, you know, the thought process was, you know, it's overcrowded a little bit, send the children to Osceola. But that discussion will come back again. I think I mentioned that to you all last time.
Right.
That's the kind of conversation you want to keep. And I think I did put down the people who are in charge of boundaries. I don't know if I did, but
It should be in our,
Mr. Levin is the contact person. I put it in here for you. You
Yeah,
have all of your schools,
for the, yeah,
contact people.
it's Jason Lincoln, Christine Garrison, I think, right?
Absolutely. This whole packet back here really talks a lot about boundaries. When you were looking at this Blue Lake Elementary School, it opened, it's beautiful. And guess what? They had to have that boundary process. And that's you, the people that discuss the boundary, the lines, the cutoff, who will go and who will not go. And it has to be decided. The board actually finally makes the decision, but we listen to what the committee and the community has to say. They come out to your community, the boundary committee. They do a little bit of it online. They do some of the meetings at the board meetings. It depends on how much has to be done because everybody's voice must be heard. So it kind of tells you a little bit about what we've been doing with the boundaries. We just opened Dr. Joaquin Garcia. Boy, that was something, that high school. We were busy for days and days and weeks because you had Wellington involved, you had Green Acres involved, you had some of the West Palm Beach. It was really big. And West Boynton Middle School, we just did it. So all of those places had to have a boundary meeting as well as Blue Lake. Now, the ones that are coming, lots of stuff coming. You heard somebody talking about Osceola and the children coming off of North Lake. So lots of new schools, the Scripps Gardens Area Elementary School coming, West Acreage, that's you all coming. The Western Community High School, that's you, you know, this is you. Some of your children probably will stay at Seminole Ridge, but depending on where you all draw those lines, some of the children will be going to the new high school. But you will have that input and the school board finally votes. And people get real passionate about that because, you know, they get used to where they are. They love their school. And even though it's a new school, it doesn't mean anything. You're looking at programs, you're looking at disruption sometimes of children's lives, and parents really don't want to change, even though it has all the bells and whistles at the new school, the Western Community High School, but that will be a big deal. And I think that won't be so much as pulling people a lot from the east, but back here in the back where all this growth is, you know, so Seminole Ridge will probably handle it, but they're going to lose a few because they're growing and growing and growing. And as you all know, right here, you're growing. And then we have the West Delray Elementary School that's coming. So you're looking at 27, 28, 20, 30. Whoa, we're going to be busy.
We were supposed to be 2029, right?
29.
So we're not on this one.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this one. They changed this since I printed it. So I wanted to show you
Right.
the new one. I love this that we have right here, 27 and fall of 26. Now, they said, Ms. Andrews, it's all fluid.
Right.
We may be doing it a little early, and your mayor has asked us that we need to move faster. That's what Arden did. They were scheduled to be a little later, but we kept pushing and pushing. I'm also pushing to see if we can get this Westlake school
So
done
what
as
can we
quickly.
do to help push?
Well, I'll keep pushing and you keep pushing me because I'm going to be here with you.
We will.
And your mayor and your commissioners are pushing because guess what? It's in the budget. And so we're kind of looking at the whole process. And
So are
then-
those meetings open, those boundary meetings?
Yes,
Can
they are.
anybody go to them?
Yes, yes. And
And
sometimes they're online, sometimes they're in person at the school board. Sometimes we bring them right here to the community, depending on what we need to do, you know, so yes, and you need to be
maybe
involved.
Mr. Levin would come and talk to us?
Oh, he will. I think you all need to invite him.
I will.
Yes, indeed. I didn't put his phone number down because we don't usually publish that, but you can work with me. If you want him to come, you tell me tonight.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to meet him because he's my representative for District 6. Now, there are other people that's on the boundary committee. The superintendent has a person that sits on the boundary committee. ESC has a person that sits. So all of us, school board members have people, but Mr. Levin truly belongs to you for District 6. Wellington, Royal Palm Beach, the Acreage, the Glades, he is the person for all of you. And so with all this that's happening out here, it would be nice for him to know that we have a Westlake Educational Advisory Committee and to be introduced. He has come to the meetings in Wellington. Yeah, and when we had all the information about the Dr. Joaquin Garcia High School, he knew everybody. And so once you start, he may get to know you all too. But I think with the elementary school, it won't be as contentious, but sometimes it does get there when people are fighting to keep their children in their schools. So I kind of talked about that. I thought this was nice to have the boundary process flow chart. It's kind of interesting to read how it starts and what happens with it. And also the assignment for students, when you're thinking about having your child assigned, it's nice to know the policies. Everything works within the school district based on a policy. And the policy for the boundary committee and the policy for the student assignment is always good. But sometimes you may want to make another placement for a child. Just go always and read the policy. So I thought all this was a lot of stuff tonight, but I thought you could keep this in your portfolio. If you had any questions, you could give me a call and let me know if you need any more assistance on anything. I thought the boundary maps were pretty good.
Yeah.
And what had happened over the last few years.
Right.
But you're next because we have 3 schools coming. One next year, your school and the high school. So we're going to be busy with boundaries. So begin to read the policy.
I do have a
You know,
question.
yes.
Would it be possible, and I don't know if this is possible or not, but would it be possible for each of the principals to provide some type of data, obviously, you know, without like redacted information, obviously, but like how many Westlake residents are attending each of the schools that you guys, like, just so we can have some type of data
That'd be
for
good.
pushing, like, we need some type of justification for pushing the elementary school sooner. So any type of data, and I know we could probably get similar information from the city as well, I would hope, in terms of demographic and age of kids or, you know, the amount of young families in the city.
I can request that.
Okay.
And I can look into that for you. And I'll also look into Mr. Levin coming. I'll look at your next meeting. We'll work something out if that's something you want me to do.
Yeah.
Did you also get it for the
That would be awesome.
Groves? Waxahachie Groves also, the Westlake population?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, I work so closely. That's how I met Anita.
Yeah.
We're volunteers at Loxahatchee Grove, so I know how great it is and what all the special needs children that are there. And so all of this is District 6. We don't need to start dividing up District 6, but we want to make sure
Right.
we know who's here and what's happening. And a lot of parents may not know that our ESC children, many of the gifted children go to H.L. Johnson.
I can tell you, the majority of parents I speak to, when I tell them my son goes to H.L. Johnson, they say, why does he go to Royal Palm? What's he doing all the way over there?
Yeah, they don't know, and they don't know the ESC ESC piece.
And it's tough because as a parent, especially a new parent, if it's your first child and you're new to Westlake, you're coming from Broward, you're coming from Miami, you're just told what you're told by the school representative at that moment. Your kid is this and they have to go here or they can stay here, and you don't know anything about the other schools. So I think it's really important that we inform the families to the best of our ability.
Wonderful. And I'll work with Zoe, and she's been so awesome working with my executive assistant and getting this packet together for you all. So I don't know if it's too much information, but I just
No, it's
thought it.
perfect.
No, it's great.
It's
Thank you.
perfect, yeah.
I have one question. I know on your previous packet, you mentioned that the school board meetings are on Wednesdays.
On
Every
Wednesdays.
Wednesday?
Not every Wednesday, but you know what I will do? I'll get you a school board calendar.
Okay, I gotta-
Yeah,
because
we
I
have a
to go
school
to-
board meeting tomorrow evening. I'd invite you all to come. But what I will do, Zoe, I'll get the school board meetings, and we'll be probably changing our school board meetings or doing a new calendar because we have 3 seats up for reelection. So in November, we'll make a new calendar, but I can give you the meetings for the remainder of this
Okay, that'd be
year.
great. Yeah,
Mhm,
thank you.
absolutely. I'll have that sent to you. So hopefully I didn't bring too much, but
No, it's perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so.
Topic. of
All right,
what we
thank
were
you so
talking
much.
about. Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right, so now we have time for board member comments in general or any reports or updates. Those of you that went to the schools, do you have anything additional that you'd like to add maybe about the high school?
Yeah.
Or maybe we need to invite the principal.
Yes, absolutely. We touched on, obviously, a concern for all schools, but especially high schools for safety. That last year that they reported not a single gun or knife incident happened on campus. So that's very reassuring as a parent and a member of the community. Fighting has been down 70% at the high school. And I think that goes along with Mr. Hatcher's, strong, he's backing it up. Fighting gets a automatic 10-day suspension, and they encourage battery charges to be brought up against the students. So they're thinking twice about fighting on campus there. And last year, 47 students were removed from the high school and sent to alternative programs for
Wow.
fighting.
Wow.
So he's not messing around.
He's not missing.
Yeah, so that's really good. But to, follow up with that, though, Seminole Ridge led the county with students receiving associate's degrees before their high school degrees, with 33 students actually being a college graduate before being a high school graduate.
Awesome.
So that's really great. They maintaining a letter grade. And we talked about, again, different vocational programs that they have, the construction program and the automotive program, and, different avenues, and, how we as a community can, help students who, may not know what they want to do. A lot of students go to college and they study finance and they graduate and they don't know what to do with a finance degree. And so we did talk about developing some sort of like needs assessment or a survey for juniors and seniors to do to see, what they're interested in. And then conducting, like here at the lodge, like roundtables from people within the community who work in finance, and, how they got to where they got, what they're looking for, if they were coming in to get an internship, or if they were coming in as, a new hire, a new college graduate, what type of skill sets are really important that you don't typically, think of, like I was a high school English teacher, but now I work, in IT corporate training. So, there's different avenues for people to take to get into different careers. And, then maybe even, having them come and shadow them on the job. We do have a lot of people who work from home, but they can still sit in on meetings and understand a little bit more about organizations. And, by bridging that gap, we want to keep those, students in the community when they return from going to a vocational program or, graduating from college, to come back to our community to enrich and, reap all the benefits of all of the hard work we put in when they were younger, that they can come back and be positive impacts on the next generation of students. And he's really excited about getting something done with that. and, working with the advisory board. And we did talk about how we have the 5K, and he's already thinking of what he wants to do when it's his turnaround. Maybe new scoreboards. He said there were a lot of different ideas. But he really said the biggest issue that he's seen is, the new Westlake students coming in with the Loxahatchee, people who have been here for generations and generations. It's, people in Westlake are coming from New York and coming from out of state, and it's really a different culture here. It's, we live in zero boundary communities over here, and, they're out on 5 acres, riding dirt bikes around. And so it really is just kind of bringing a unified message and, speaking, to our students and, our community that, they were here first and they may do it a little bit differently than you did it in New York. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong, and understanding that every school district is run a little bit differently. And so just to encourage our community members that we have wonderful people in our, administrative seats in our schools, and it may not look like it did from New Hampshire or Colorado, but, you moved here for a reason, and trust in the process. And the best thing that, we can really do as a board is support the teachers and the administration, because there are, parents can be wonderful sometimes. But yeah, he's doing a lot of, it seems like a great principal, just like the two of you here, and very passionate about what he does. And it solidified my commitment to moving to this community, hearing from the two of you today and speaking to the principal at the high school that this is the best place for my child and her future education. So I want to thank you both for doing your jobs and making the sacrifices, and hopefully you're not a rolling cart principal, but if you are, I've got a workshop. I can build you a great cart and we can put all kinds of stuff in there.
Rolling cart principal.
But that's all that I have.
Awesome. Anything else from anybody?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I might have to say something,
Go ahead.
because maybe inadvertently I was made the liaison for the Loxahatchee Groves Elementary School. I would like to say a few things about that school, because I did visit with the principal, Richard Myerson, and he just happens to be from Massachusetts. Well, two towns over from where I lived. But since many of our students do go there, I would just like to highlight some of the things that the school does do. For example, they are a STEAM-focused school, which means science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. They have 2 STEAM exhibits every year, and they'd be happy to showcase those exhibits at the school for anyone from the community to attend or to bring to a meeting here. They've had significant growth in their reading, math, and science scores. In fact, Principal Myerson would be happy at any time to present statistics on those issues. They also do have many, many activities where they have a chorus show, they have talent shows, they have a school carnival. In fact, the chorus performs at the Kravis Center, at many retirement centers. I've spoken to Principal Myerson about the Literacy Coalition, which I mentioned here, where we could have people from the Crestwind community volunteer with reading or any other types of, community, child, adult relationships that we can assist you with. And they have, the 2nd grade has an art gallery at the Norton Museum of Art. They recently did a whole facility makeover because of a $10 million grant due to COVID relief. So they increased their outside and inside security with 100 additional cameras. They could use additional student furniture because of the growth that's coming from Westlake. And they also have different needs that I'm not going to bring up now because they're not a part of the Westlake community. But again, they have a large Westlake enrollment, so they would like to showcase certain things that they have through the year and build a relationship with the Westlake community. So
What's their numbers? How many?
almost 700 and growing.
So they're all about the same, yeah.
In addition to that, they have 175 preschool from the county. So it's a growing school with lots of good things happening.
I have a question. The schools, Ms. Andrews, that we use for, like we were saying earlier, the feeder schools for gifted and then the ESC pre-K, is that funding coming from like the McKay or what was formerly the McKay? Like, how does that work? Or is it, it's not from West, since the Westlake residents are going there, their taxes aren't going to that school, right? They're just carrying their McKay with them? Is that how that works?
Well, that unit actually moves if the student is going to that particular school. The money for that particular student actually goes to that new school that they're actually going to. So it's in that big pot of money for the district to disseminate. But if they're going to another school, that money follows the student.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Oh, the money follows the student even, huh?
There's a cutoff, though.
Hot topic, hot topic. You may have the floor. Oh, all right. Any other question that you came up with? No? No. Okay, well, thank you for coming. I can't hear, why don't you come up to the microphone, please, and give us your address? Your name?
Crossings, my name's.
In where? Nope, we gotta put the microphone.
Very short.
We want to hear all you have to say.
No, because my friend lives in Skype. I can't figure this out.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And she wanted to know if Loxahatchee Groves is still Sky Cove, or did it change with all the boundary and all that stuff to Golden Grove or a different school?
So none of the boundaries have changed to our knowledge. They're all the
Yeah,
same.
no,
She came
yeah.
in and was told she was.
So it's still Loxahatchee Grove? Okay.
Well, it's confusing.
Yeah, a
And I
little bit.
understand why it's confusing, because I know when I get things from Amazon or some other provider, it'll pop up Loxahatchee Groves. We both have the same zip code.
Yeah.
So,
But I think everyone who was town center, like, I guess Miss Andrews probably put it on here, but it was like town center, south and further was Loxahatchee Groves. And anyone who's on the other side of Crestwin is Golden Grove, if that makes sense. That's
And when
how
I
it-
first moved here, we were looking, as again, I'm a Crestwood resident, we were looking for a school to make a donation to for supplies and so forth last year. And I went online and looked at the different communities in Westlake, and a lot of them had Loxahatchee Groves as their elementary school, and that's why we chose it. So unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize it was not in Westlake at the time until I went to
it's
visit.
not in the district.
In
It's
the-
confusing.
Yeah,
A little
But-
bit. All right.
But it was
that's why
listed.
I'm here to ask, and I'm glad you came to ask for her.
All right, so thank you.
Part of Westlake.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
I just one other question.
Okay.
That question. And because the area is evolving, that's why the boundary piece is going to be so important for you. Many of the lines, as we looked at Arden, people were saying that's Wellington, it's not. So all of this area here, we were working because we didn't have many schools and many homes and many people. But now that we have all the great things happening all over District 6, especially to the west, your input in drawing those lines, a lot will change. People who may be used to going to Western Pines may be going somewhere else when it all is said and done. And your voices will count as we restructure these new schools, these communities are growing, and what happens. For instance, the Loxahatchee Groves piece is a great piece because of the pre-K. All of the schools don't have that. So we could be in this bubble here, but we could still be going to Loxahatchee Groves. But as you begin to talk about how you want your district to look through the boundary process, having Mr. Levin and the school board and being an active participant before someone else decides it for you will be the key because everything's happening west. Thank you.
Do you think he could come to our next meeting?
I'm going to work on it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You gave me that. I will take care of that.
Thank you.
Now, I had my own sort of issue with boundaries, because I know that the schools are very interactive with Palm Beach State College, dual enrollment, a lot of things. And I brought that up at a council meeting and I was told, no, they're not in our boundary. So, yeah, there's a lot to address there. Even-
The commission would like to have it the way they have it. It will be the people's voice to
Right.
change those boundaries when it comes to that. We're operating under what we've had from the beginning.
Exactly.
But when the changes come, it will be the committee coming before the school board The people, always the people first, the committee, and then the school board will make a recommendation. And they do listen to the people because it's always about the students and the people.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have one last question. I know that Mrs. Edgecombe had said that you guys are like growing exponentially, but I'm looking at the zone map here and it looks like there's only just a couple of neighborhoods that are excluded from Golden Grove. Would you guys have the resources if we were to speak to Mr. Levin about changing that boundary just for these 2 or 3 neighborhoods that are excluded? Oh. I'm just curious, because as I look at the map, and I know like people at home can't really see this as clearly, but there's literally 2
Yeah.
neighborhoods out of all of Westlake that are zoned for Loxahatchee.
And that
Out
was a
of the
long
9,
time
yeah.
ago. That's what I'm saying. At that time,
Before the
it was
growth.
perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's going to have to be looked at. So I think talking to Mr. Levin,
Okay,
who
he's
actually
okay.
works with Jason Link and the people, it's going to be a lot of changes because you're growing. And we've got to adjust accordingly. Those boundary changes can be made when we have to make an adjustment. The final decision always rests with the school board, but the school board will be listening to your voices, the committee, and then making the recommendation, you know, by vote.
All right.
Chair Kaplan, may I confirm since there was some discrepancy regarding the liaison for the schools, can I just confirm
Sure.
the liaisons for each board member? Golden Grove, who is the liaison? Western Pines?
I think it's also.
No, it's not in our zone.
That's not our zone, okay.
Mhm.
Seminole Ridge?
Lisa?
That's,
Acreage Pines is not in our zone. Loxahatchee Groves, not in our zone. And then Osceola Creek. Okay, great.
Brian?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well,
We missing any? No?
No, but I did mention that I would be a coordinator for the community and the schools, if that's something you want to
yeah,
put me on.
sure. Okay.
Okay, I
That'd be
like
good.
that.
I was
Like
going
some
to do
type of
some of that.
community
too.
outreach.
Community outreach.
I really like that.
Okay,
idea.
good.
Okay.
So community
Community
outreach
outreach.
for you? Okay.
Coordinator, yes, thank you. I have a title now, community outreach.
Yeah, we should talk about that at the next meeting, what we would like our community outreach to be. I think
Okay.
that's a great idea.
I'll start
Are we
with,
able
I
to
was
do
thinking about
fundraisers
that.
and stuff? Are we allowed to do that? Do you know?
I believe
Okay.
so. I think that the Art in Public Places got a big donation from Publix
Okay.
for the piece that they worked on. So, I mean, I'll double check on that, but
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem.
Just for the record, art in public places, that's designed by the way that they're set up through ordinance. Anything that you all do as a board, as an advisory board, you would need to recommend to council and seek their approval.
Okay.
And that includes like any type of like fundraising event. Okay.
if it's a fundraising event outside of the board, that's different. Correct?
What do you mean?
Oh, like if the Crestwood community.
Freshman
was doing
community, we
Oh,
donate,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
different.
totally different
That's
than this,
totally
okay.
different, yeah. Now you have to know who gets what.
Mhm.
Any other comments before I say that I'd like to move that we adjourn?
Prior to
Time.
adjourning, would you all like to set your next meeting?
Oh, yes, thank you. What do you think about something a little bit less spread out? I think for us to meet, what, August, September, October, November is a long time, given what we're trying to work on. How about if we had a meeting sometime in
I say September.
late October or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, September, October.
Can you
Yeah.
do that?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that?
Fine.
I think you lose so much with that big body of time.
Yeah.
Is, let's see, where did I put my purse? Tuesday, a best night?
I think that one's
Everybody?
difficult.
No, it's fine.
It's okay.
It's-
Let me see.
I would ask the board, this was an exception for this Tuesday, I believe. Typically, we'd like to have you all meet on a Thursday, if possible.
You like Thursdays better?
And it would have to be tentative because we do have to make sure that the space is available.
Okay. September. October. Any holidays in October? No, Halloween.
Halloween,
Halloween, and there's a couple Jewish holidays too in October.
Columbus Day is October, it's a Monday. Columbus Day,
How about the 17th is a Thursday
17th.
of October?
Mhm.
Stays away from the Halloween kind of time.
Sounds good.
Does
Mhm.
it sound good?
Yeah.
Same time, same place? You'll double check it for us? Do you want another alternative?
We can stick to October 17th and then I'll get back to the board.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everyone is okay with the time for 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding us. Shall we adjourn? Do I have to make a motion?
No motion?
Thank you. And we're adjourning at 7:52. And this was a great meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
I
Thank you.
really love working with you folks. This is like night and day compared to what it